So, the psychosomatic landscape describes all of the expressions in my experience, describes my experience. How do I begin to play? Well, we can approach this from the psyche and from the soma. From the psyche, we mind map. Mind map is usually used as a learning tool by which to display how information connects onto a page in a way that helps me easily retrieve it for what I need to use it for. In this case, especially in Chinese medicine school, we begin to see that the patternings of the mind are through duality. It's much easier to see differences between things than when things start to kind of blend together. But we can also see when the duality creates a kind of container in itself. We can group things together and also differentiate them from one another. There's also a way of mapping the mind that demonstrates sequential information, a progression of symptoms, for instance, and levels of disease. That's great. What about outliers? Outliers themselves kind of create their own grouping, right? We refer to this as perhaps evidential knowledge, as opposed to the conceptual ones that can fit well together. Evidential maybe just straggles alongside one piece of knowledge. And we can really start to get creative with how we depict these models. For instance, if we were to try an activity, think about how the body works. We have blood, we have nerves, organ systems. These are all big categories of information. Do we group any of them together? Well, the big grouping here is how the body works, right? And let's get a little creative here. We know that the big grouping is how the body works, so let's just zoom in. Blood, nerves, organ systems. If I were to generally say how these are oriented to each other, I would put probably blood here, organ systems here, and probably nerves would be under the organ systems to depict this quality of reaching them. So how they are layered and structured in my mind map depict a relationship in itself. Let's zoom in to, say, the nerves and look at, okay, how do the nerves play a role in the structure of the body? Well, then we can immediately say there's a central nervous system, there's a peripheral nervous system. It's a clear delineation, right? And so on and so forth. So we're making right most of the time, clear most of the time, relationships that are easy to access, and then taking note of outliers. So that's mind mapping. when we start to see the experience as the psychosomatic experience, then we begin to see that this is happening all the time. These relationships are constantly co-arising, and we can start to play. How do I group things together? How do I see things? Affects my landscape, affects my experience. Okay, so that's the psychological side of things. This is the psychosomatic landscape. So what about the somatic side of things? How do we begin to play from the soma? Well, from the soma, the core of it is to feel, the felt sense, to just get clearer and clearer about what feelings arise in me, and start to see, oh, that's just a feeling. It's not good or bad, it's just some kind of holding pattern in my experience that comes and goes. So let me see what that's like. Let me be with it. What does it look like to express it? And here's where dance really has helped me. And I use dance very loosely here. It could be something as simple as gesturing. What is the feeling of me right now? Something kind of like this. And, okay, so I've mapped the feeling of Michael onto my hand. Right. Well, the feeling of Michael, the feeling also kind of looks like this. So the soma is access to feeling. Then what is the soma within the psyche? How do we play with that? Well, if the container is the psyche, then we're trying to get to the soma from this container. We can get there by asking why. Getting to the heart of narratives. So, say I'm working with a mind map and I have some fitting of the body system. Why is this construction important to me? Because I want to easily refer back to how the body looks for my patients. Why is it important for me to refer back for my patients? Because I want to be able to help them. Why do I want to be able to help them? Because right there, the narrative stops and the feeling emerges through the psyche, through the exploration of the psyche. Okay, well, how do we explore the psyche within the soma? Well, let's bring up any feeling, no matter how subtle or overt. I encourage in this moment to just work with something easy, not too activating, and then ask questions. What do you look like? And bam, a visual comes into my mind. And it's just an expression of feeling, so it's no right or wrong, nothing that I have to trust or not trust, something easy. So the feeling of my heart, immediately there is this kind of cascading quality of redness that's opening and opening and opening within flesh. What sound do you make? Oh. What words do you want to form? Cool, so now we've created a narrative and we kind of create different sequences and dreams based on this feeling that I was focusing on in my heart. So that's the accessing the psyche through the soma, then what connects the two together? This is where parts work gets really interesting. Parts work is about connecting narratives, beliefs, personalities to areas of the body, and then exploring that area through understanding, through respecting that part's yeses and nos. And we can then employ these mind mapping models and the somatic models to get even further clarity of what this part is like. We can access the psyche through the soma of this part, the soma of the psyche within this part, and really get to the core and understand what this part's holding pattern is, and empower it, explore it, recognize that it came into being from that very holding pattern, from source, and so it is none other than source's unique expression of itself. So there's nothing to change. It's already perfect, pristine source, awakeness. Now it's easy for me to talk about this because I've trained within this through meditation and somatic experiencing, psychosomatics experiencing. How does one actually begin to see this view that first source and then expressions of source? Michael Tabb's vast sky mind sequence and stack model really get to the core of this. And what this is about is my understanding of it. See body sensations right now. Just experience them. And then notice, say, my arm, the body sensations of my arm. They're constantly changing. Qualities of pressure. When I view from kind of a relaxed, gentle abiding of my arm, oh, pressure is constantly shifting around and changing. It's not really staying in one place. And it may take a little bit to begin to experience this. But if it's constantly changing, then I can probe with the question. I can ask the question, what is arm? What I know to be my arm is actually just a series of discontinuous sensations, a continuous sequence of discontinuity. Okay? So what is experiencing that? Michael's experiencing that. Okay, now let's look for Michael. Let's look for self. Where am I? And then exploring the psychosomatic landscape, finding for where I perceive myself to be. And the thing is I am not anywhere, or I am everywhere, depending on how you look at it. Because if this is arm, just a series of changing experiences, and everywhere I look is just a series of discontinuous changing experiences that are impermanent, then who's really experiencing this right now? There's an experience here, so that is true. But if it's not Michael, as I know Michael to be, everywhere I look in my psychosomatic experience, there's just changing experience. Then what is experiencing this? Oh, It is none other than Source. It is none other than awake awareness. It is through recognizing this over and over again that we begin to recognize Source and its unique expressions. And that Michael is none other than the unique expression of Source that has a very specific holding pattern unique to the doer of this experience, even unique to the not doer of this experience. So, parts work is a way that we can begin to explore the connection between the psyche and the soma. What are some other ways? What are other maps? Taoism utilizes the upper, middle, and lower dantians. There is something known as the universal mandala that works with the cartesianal directions within experience to map out. Oh, forward is related to teachers, backward to ancestors, left to the beings of love, right the beings of protection, up the heavens, down the earth. And I can begin to see experience from this Cartesianal relationship. By finding maps that bridge together the psyche and the soma more and more, we really feel that they're inseparable, that my psychosomatic landscape is just that, my unique landscape. And so it's all part of it. It's all part of experience. And if it's all unique holding patterns to express Source, then I can empower all of it. I can be with all of it. When I say empower, I specifically am referring to experiencing a holding pattern as something that doesn't need to change. It itself can just be there. How is that an empowerment? Well, the opposite of that would be trying to change something, trying to make it into something that it's not. But by being with it, it is in itself an encouragement through attention of its own being. This is one way to look at empowerment. Another way could be literally pushing forward attention onto it. If it wants it, pushing forward gives a sense of the directional yes, the somatic directional yes. Another somatic direction is no, pulling back. So if I'm pushing forward with empowerment and I'm noticing a pulling back of that which I'm empowering, there is a boundary being placed here, a psychosomatic boundary of whatever is being pushed onto me is not what I want right now. And that isn't to say that I'll never want it. It just means right now, no thank you. And this is constantly happening, this push and pull. And the thing about it is how we experience the social world. So building a psychosomatic relationship with the push and pull to a variety of experiences and career, money-making, relationships, romantic relationships, family, and self, we begin to really feel how we can integrate within society and show up as our unique expressions of self. So one fun thing I like to do is start to see the conceptual, psychological mappings as soma as well, to build personalities from such things, just like we might with parts. So the part of me that says yes in career is now a teacher. The part of me that says no within career is also a teacher, pulling back. And I've, through this, created a relationship to my yeses and nos that I can get behind, that I can relate to when I struggle to see my no's in career. When I say, no, I can't do that. I really can't. I'm not good enough. Okay, that no response, that's a teacher. I'm resourcing that. I'm relating to that as a teacher. Oh, now I can be with it. Now I can really empower that no as none other than the teacher. And the view that holds even that is empowering it as none other than that unique expression of awake awareness. So you can really see how we can play with this. Personalities, beings, experiences, all can be made into these psychosomatic landscapes that we can empower by being with, by seeing through, seeing too the unique holding pattern of experience. So when I perform acupuncture, when I'm reading the pulse, I am looking for where is this unique holding pattern taking place? And what does it need for me to be seen, to be held, to be with? This is the work. This is the work to empower the people we care about. To see them for who they are, not what we want them to be. And part of that is grieving the pleasingness of expectations, letting go and recognizing that all things pleasing will end. This goes back to the feeling of pleasingness, of things are going well. That itself is a feeling of the psychosomatic landscape that is constantly changing, that is in itself impermanent, that is none other than awake awareness. Empowerment. See, being with the psychosomatic landscape. So, as an acupuncturist, our jobs are to be with, to really see and be with, and support, find ways to resource, to help people resource for themselves. If being with is not an option right now, what are ways we can dress up the very holding pattern that is being shied away from, that is being tucked away, locked away from that person's awareness? How do we make that available to them, to to begin building a relationship to see, oh, it's in itself awakeness expressing itself, something that is already pristine, that I can be with. We do that by using our psychosomatic maps, relating them together, giving it a name, giving it a feeling, recognizing its feeling, and seeing what sounds it makes, what colors it has. This is parts work.